Okay. Hey, everybody. Rob Kosberg here for our BSPU call. Excited to share this content with you. I think it will be really helpful. A lot of stuff that I talk about is very tactical, and so it's very much like what I shared last week about building your own challenge, et cetera. It could have to do with Facebook ads, or it could have to do with building your own free plus shipping funnel with your book, et cetera. Today is more strategic, which in many ways is much more important than the tactical. And like I shared with you earlier, I have 2 pages of notes here. We're going to talk about how to plan your perfect business day to explode your productivity and success. And it's much more than that. That's kind of a lame title, if you will. It certainly doesn't share all of what I want to talk about today. But I'm going to go to sharing my screen. I'm going to go to the whiteboard a little bit and share some things with you. Let me make sure that our whiteboard is all set to go. Yeah, it looks like that's good, which is great. But let me just share a little bit of the concept and idea and kind of the why behind it first. Oftentimes you'll hear people talk about planning your perfect day. And, I don't know where you are in business and in life. And I imagine that those that are watching and or listening right now are in all different kinds of stages. I certainly have a lot of great days, and I am very, very thankful. I feel super favored. I love where I live. I'm on the water. I love my morning routine, and I have a great marriage and love my dogs, and I play golf a couple times a week with my best friends, and I have scotch and cigar night. That's tonight, and blah, 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 blah. So I have a lot of really good days, but I felt like I wanted to narrow this topic just a little bit more because oftentimes it's actually a little harder for me to have a perfect business day than it is to have a perfect day in general. Like, I'm really good at narrowing down the things I want to do and I really love to do in my life. And so, taking a ride on the Harley in the morning, coming back and making sure that I, have my business things set up and always something to look forward to in my day, whether it's hitting some golf balls or playing golf or having my buddies come over or going out to a great dinner with my wife. But oftentimes I will have things in my calendar from a business perspective that I look at and I think, you know what, this is not moving the needle for my business. This is not really the highest and best use of my talents and what I bring to bestseller publishing. And I don't know if you ever feel that way. Oftentimes it may be discussed as, you're doing $10 an hour work when you should only be doing $1,000 an hour work, or you're doing $100 an hour work when you should only be doing $1,000 hour work, or et cetera, right? You want your time to be used for its highest and best use. And so this is the way for me to figure it out. And I've spent quite a bit of time over the last week or two doing this because, and I'll share the number one reason. I am very, very much a person that loves a calendar and loves a schedule with a lot of free time and various other things in there for me. But I like routine in my life. And I have found since COVID, since we had to shut our office down in California, which is mid-May, since that time, my routine has gotten off. We've moved to Florida, which means I'm now 3 hours ahead of many of my team members, almost all of my team members. And so there I am, getting up every morning at about 5 a.m. And, by the time my first business call happens, which is usually around noon or say 12:45, 1 o'clock Eastern, I've already been going for, 6, 7 hours. And of course my team is just kind of getting around to it because, it's noon for me and it's 9 a.m. for them. And so I have found more recently that my morning hours have not been as productive. And yet for me, that's like my go time. I am most energized. I am most focused. And I've thought, you know what, I need to spend some time and really rework things a little bit. So let me share my screen, and I want to share with you some questions that I answer, that I recommend that you answer, as well as maybe like a format to do this so that you make the absolute most of your time and are as productive as possible. Now, really briefly, I don't want to talk a lot about this because I've talked about this in the past a lot, but a lot of what I focus on is predicated on what I call, my 3E method. And that is something has to be, if I'm going to focus on it, it has to be something that excites me, that I excel at, and that I am earning money. So my 3E method, when I'm talking about, activities, actions for me in a business, it has to be something I'm excited about, something I excel at, and something I am earning money doing. Now, in the past, look, I did things that I wasn't most excited about. When my team was smaller, I did things that I didn't excel at, and I did things that I wasn't earning the most amount of money. And certainly that's true even today. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because I have full trainings on using this methodology, but I just want to mention it because, number one, when I'm thinking about, what my perfect business day looks like, I'm always keeping this in mind. This is the foundation and the basis of it. Okay. So this is once, we have that foundation down, these are the questions that I ask myself that I suggest you ask yourself as well. Number one is, what do I want? What do I want? Now, if we're talking about your perfect day, then you could have things in there that are activities that are pleasurable, like hitting some golf balls or having a romantic dinner with your spouse or your loved ones or whatever. I'm not talking about that today. Obviously, that needs to be something that you think about. What I'm talking about is, what do I want from a business day perspective? What do I really want to feel at the end of my business day? What do I really want to accomplish at the end of my business day? What are the things that I am interested and excited about? So number one, what do I want? Number two is, okay, why do I want that thing? I need to think about my own internal motivation, right? If there is something that I want that is primarily ego driven, then I need to really question whether or not that's worth, going through the motions, spending the money, spending the resources to do, right? At some point, it's far less about our ego and far more about how we are internally and how we feel about our business and our life. And as you get older, that's certainly true. I'd say when I was younger, things were much more about my ego. Number three is, what are my boundaries? What are my boundaries? And what I mean by this is, what hours am I willing to work? How many days a week am I willing to work? What am I willing to do and what am I not willing to do, right? My boundaries have, as my business has grown, my boundaries have gotten more and more narrow because I find that I am more productive and can do more in a tight window. After that, it's perhaps not as fulfilling for either me or the business. And then lastly is, what needs to be measured? What needs to be measured? So how do I know if I'm being successful or not? There has to be some kind of measurement involved so that I have a pretty good idea that I am making progress and that I am successful. So again, these four things I want to answer. Now, I am actually going to answer some of these things with you, sharing some of my thoughts for myself, and then kind of walk you through the methodology to do this for yourself and for your business. Again, the four are, what do I want, right? This is your perfect business day. So what do I want it to look like? Why do I want it to look that way? What are my boundaries? Like, where am I not going out of to keep within these boundary lines? And last but not least, what do I need to measure to ensure that I am really being successful? It's not enough that I just feel good. There has to be some kind of measurement here. Okay. So let's just start with number one. I'm just going to share some of the things about me so that you can kind of have an idea of what this might look like for you. So number one is all about, what do I want, right? So when I was making this list out, and again, I shared some of the premise of this. The premise was that, I'm 3 hours ahead of my team now. And in the past, I have my entire morning routine down, which starts about 5 a.m. and it ends about 9 a.m., 8:30, 8:45, 9 a.m. And that's, with me having worked out and showered and I'm ready to do work. And in the past, I'd be the first, one or two people in the office at 8:30 or 8:15 or 8:45 or something like that. Everyone else comes in, we start our team meetings, we get going. I don't do that anymore because I'm way ahead of my team. So I asked myself, well, what do I want now that I am so far ahead? Well, number one, I actually want to be productive. That's may seem a little strange. It may seem obvious, but I am most happy when I am productive, when I feel like I am making an effort, I am moving the ball down the field, I'm making a difference for my team. Business has been great. I looked at some of our numbers. We're a little bit off from last year, but we've actually cut our expenses significantly. So net income, we're actually significantly up over last year, but that doesn't mean I feel productive, right? That doesn't mean that my day feels like a perfect day from a productivity standpoint. Now that may not be something that motivates you, but that motivates me. I want to feel productive. The other thing is I want to feel motivated. Now, these two things kind of go together. This is what I wrote down, but, truth be told, when I am productive, I'm doing something that I enjoy doing, I'm really making a difference for myself, for the team, it motivates me, it excites me, it gets me juiced to do this thing again or to do more of it tomorrow. I'm just going to stick with those two for now from a business perspective, because I think I can expand on those a little bit with you. So these were the things that I wrote, primary things that I wrote when it came time for my perfect business day to be planned out, because I felt like this is where I was lacking. I wasn't as productive in the morning as I'm used to being. And because of that, my motivation was a little bit off, right? So, okay. So the next thing I have to figure out from there, or you have to figure out from there, is you have to decide whatever your thing is. For me is I want to be productive. I want to be motivated. Then I have to ask myself, okay, what does this look like? What does it actually look like for me to be productive? What does it look like for me to feel motivated? Now, this goes a little bit back to the 3 E's, right? Because motivation is about doing something that excites me, that I'm excellent at, that I'm earning money at. That's both the motivation and the productivity part. But for me, I had to say, okay, well, everything, and I think this is true for you too, everything revolves around how I am best used at BSP, right? This is my business day. So this all revolves around my expertise, what I am best at, and my role at Bestseller Publishing. This is where I feel the most productive and I feel the most motivated. So I made a list of a couple of things. Number one, I thought, okay, the thing that I feel the most productive doing is creating content. Content creation is a really, really big part. And obviously we're a publishing company, right? So creating content, and that just doesn't mean writing. That means video, that means audio, perhaps a podcast, etc. And so I started writing down, okay, if it all revolves around BSP and the primary thing is content creation, then what does that then look like? And I had my list of the things that looked like. Okay, for me, it meant finishing my latest book. It meant, and that means taking daily action to do that. It means, finally doing some serious work on a podcast. And it also meant, which podcast can be both video and audio, but often it's thought of more as audio. And so for me, it's also about video. It's about actually creating video on an ongoing basis. Now I've been stuck on some of those things. So now I'm starting to put some flesh and sinew and muscle and tissue on what my perfect day looks like. Okay. If it's a perfect business day, forget all the fun activities that I'm going to do no matter what, then it's going to revolve around where I feel like I contribute the most, all of my magic for BSP. My number one place of magic for BSP is content creation. I'm the one that writes the book, right? I'm the one that is the voice and the mouthpiece of BSP. I'm the one that shoots the videos. So I'm the rainmaker of bestseller publishing. This is where I feel the most productive. This is what motivates me the most. Now, along those same lines, I also wrote, and this is worthwhile at least for you to see, is I wrote marketing. Now, these two things, go completely hand in hand, because what marketing really is it is the use of these resources, right? So all marketing is, in fact, all the things that I really teach you to do in the profit phase is nothing more than using the, amazing resource that you created in the form of a book. That's all. That's really the whole profit phase is, okay, how do we use this awesome resource? And there's only 100 different ways to use it, but let's pick the number 1, 2, and 3 ways that you want to use that amazing resource to grow your business, grow your impact, grow your influence. So in some ways, number 2 doesn't even need to be stated, but it does, because it's not good enough just to create this content and leave it. I would not feel particularly productive if I created the content and didn't then have a marketing outlet for that content, right? I didn't have ads to run to it. I didn't have a way to, perhaps repurpose the audio, repurpose the video, right? To create all different other kinds of things, short blog posts, short social media posts, long blog posts, longer social media posts, et cetera, so that the brand can continue to grow. In fact, I had a good conversation with a couple of the team members to do that very thing, right? To help me, hold me accountable, for us to discuss on an ongoing basis about the content creation, right? It's not enough that I sporadically create content. I feel most productive when I am creating content on a regular basis, okay? So now, and primarily, I'm interested in the slot from like 9 to 12. Because after 12, when the team is in and, I have my team calls, Zoom calls and all that, most of the afternoon, at least as long as I want to work afternoon-wise, is pretty booked up. But that morning slot for me was the lacking slot since I made this transition, which is now, 5 months ago. So I needed to figure out, okay, what was my day going to look like? What was that perfect day going to look like from the standpoint of productivity and the areas that I feel like, wow, I can get the biggest bang for my buck. So this is not super complicated, right? After I got all of this out on paper, I thought to myself, man, if my day could look like that, if I could create content every single day, even a little bit of content, then how amazing would that be? How much more productive would I feel? How much more of an impact would I make? So, as I told you before, I have my 6 to 9 a.m. I do the same thing, and it's not even 6, it's 5 roughly, but it's between 5 and 6 to 9 a.m. like set, right? I got my, when I wake up, my prayer and meditation walk, my time of personal reading and reflecting and study. And that goes till about 7 o'clock or so. And then what I did is I added in another part of my study. So in one sense, I made one adjustment for my perfect day, and that is I added a particular kind of study for news and ideas. Now, I always kind of, thought about new ideas and whatnot. Oops. My OCD's acting up. I keep, doing the wrong bracket. So the reason though for news, and I'm not talking about news like CNN or Fox or any of that stuff. I'm talking about like news as related to my business. I thought, if I'm going to create content on a regular basis for a podcast, for video, et cetera, the book writing is a little different, but for those things, then I need fresh information. I need to know what's going on with authors, with things that authors are doing that might be a little bit outside the box, or maybe even completely outside my market, but more in the idea of marketing, business growth, etc. Because these are the things that I can talk about on a podcast. These are the things that I can maybe, get a great guest to come in to discuss, etc. So I wanted to have like a 1 hour slot where all I did was, in a very, very kind of focused manner, I looked for items of news and ideas that I could discuss in audio and video form. Okay. That's all that's all I'm going to look for. Now, then I have my fitness time and my shower and all of that. So really what I'm looking for is the 9 to noon time. So I have my ideas, I have my news. So basically for me, this time is going to be doing research, both in my client base for stories, case studies, and outside news again. And this will be for interviews with some of you, like, like I did an interview with Gina. For those of you who are in the challenge, obviously Gina did great things, but we have authors, coming to us all the time, talking about the amazing things that they're doing. I want to promote you. I want to promote those authors. I want to talk about your stories. I want to talk about your case studies more. Plus, obviously, it gives me an outlet to talk about how BSP might have helped or how BSP could help in the future. So that's number one, okay, is kind of this research, news, stories, case studies. And then number two is very simple, and that is write and record. And that's it. I'm not going to edit. I'm not the editor. I don't edit my own books, my own writing. Someone else does that. I'm not going to edit the videos. I don't edit these BSPU calls. I'm not going to edit the audio. So, we have team members that can do all those things, but I have to create it. So if I can, from 9 to noon, and look, I know that's a big window. So it may be an hour here and then something else happens and then another hour. But this is, for me, going to be my content creation time. This is the time when I feel like I can move the needle the most and I can do something productive for bestseller publishing. So this is going to be both my research time, where I'm going to come up with stories, case studies, news, reach out to authors, get, interview time set, to record video, to record audio, and then I'm just going to write and record during this time. If I can do that from 9 to noon, it's a small window of time. If I can do that from 9 to noon, the rest of my schedule will 100% absolutely take care of itself, right? I'll have a few calls here and there with clients. I'll have a few meetings with team members on a daily basis. I'll move the needle the way I am right now, but this will help me to be most productive so that I can make the biggest bang for my buck for BSP. Okay. So really simple, just like a quick recap. This is the idea in the beginning. What does it look like? For me, it revolves around my expertise, right? The thing that I do for bestseller publishing the best, my 3 E's, which I wrote that out for you guys. It's then, okay, what does that actually look like on a scheduling basis? How does my perfect day actually look? A little bit of change, but not very much, where I'm going to add some study time in for news and ideas. And then, of course, research. And then lastly, even if it's just 1 hour a day that I'm focused on writing and recording, that's all that I'm going to need. Okay. So that is it. That is how I am planning my perfect day, and how I would suggest you, from a strategic standpoint, think about it as well. You need to think, am I doing the things that move the needle the most in my business?